in case you're late to the party and didn't see the video last week, RalyGrl did not finish Ojibwe, DNF'd as a result of transmission being stuck in neutral. So what we're doing right here at Turbo Time is taking apart the transmission. Right now we're working on cleaning it up, getting any dirt off so it doesn't drop inside of the transfer case and the gearbox. And then we're gonna take it apart, see if we can figure out why it got stuck. And we'll see how much fun we have in store for us. We may have issues with trying to get a hold of the forks for the JDM transmission that's in here, or it may just be something simply not lining up right that we just need to realign. So we're gonna get into it, see what we can find out. Before getting into the transmission teardown, we decided to use daylight to get the injectors out. In recent events, we had some issues with proper fuel flow, so we took the 4 injectors from the engine, along with 6 others we had, and sent them off to get flow tested and paired. This would allow us to make a couple of sets of matched injectors that would have closer tolerances, provide a better, smoother power curve, and reduce the risk of any issues out on stage. We started by removing the spark plug wires and the fuel injector covers. Once that was done, we pulled the fuel rails and removed the injectors, making sure all O-rings and gaskets were removed from the engine side. Finally, we used clean rags to plug the openings where the injectors came out of the engine to avoid getting any dirt inside while the injectors were off getting flow tested. Once that was done, we moved back to the transmission. We started with a bundle of clean rags to work on cleaning up all of the connectors. Most of these are very difficult, if not impossible, to find replacements for on this particular transmission, so needless to say, we did our best to be gentle and keep everything clean.
We just don't want to break this. This connector is irreplaceable. This is the DCCD. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Yep, okay. Perfecto. Okay. Yep. There it is.
What happened?
It's stuck in between 2 gears. So fixed.
That's really all it was?
So
What causes that?
I think the trunnion is messed up, like the actual circuit trunnion. In other words, when she has to make this motion, I don't think it made enough to get out of this gate. I think the trunnion actually broke when she did this happen. So that's why everything else take off the car and get a new one. And put all this back together, but at least it doesn't need any parts other than the correct gaskets. And then I need to do in-play measurements to make sure. That's it. It blew out this hole.
So what happened?
It blew out this
Oh,
hole.
I see. This is the shifter trunnion that the gear shift mounts to inside of the car. The original part from 97 eventually wore out. Because the hole was a larger size, the inaccurate movement actually caused the transmission gates to get stuck in between gears at the Ojibwe Forest Rally. Hey guys, we're back at Turbo Time again. It's Monday, September 2nd, and we're here on the holiday trying to button up on the last day that we have the car before it gets shipped back, or the last weekend day, so to speak. We worked on the car Saturday, the 31st, and found that the trunnion for the shifter had actually wallowed out from the bolt being in there, and that's what was causing it not to go into gear. So we got the transmission apart, as we saw in the portion of the video that came before this, and basically knocked that back into place. We have a new trunnion on the way, and that should be here for STPR. Once we get that in there, transmission should be good to go. So thankfully it was a fairly easy fix, other than the fact we had to pull it apart to get it repaired. Today what we're going to be working on, we're going to get some reflective tape on the insides of the doors and the trunk and a couple of other places, so that if they end up stopped on a course and they have a door open, it'll let other drivers see where they are if it's dark out. So stay tuned and we'll see where we go from here. To install the reflective strips to the doors, we started out by making sure all the door cards were clean. Once that was done, we measured the reflective strips off to the right length and used a razor blade to cut them to the right size and shape, then cut the holes for where the door card attachment clips would need to be accessed for future maintenance. Once that was done, we did one final test fit before removing the adhesive backing and applying the reflective strip to the door card. You can see here that I just get the backing started on one side, but don't remove it all the way. This ensures that I can get the strip lined up perfectly before attaching the adhesive to the door card. Once I have the adhesive where I want it, I slowly peel away the backing as I go down the door card to keep a proper alignment and minimize any bubbles, creases, or folds. And lastly, we use a razor blade to cut off any excess to get a perfect fit to the door card. Repeat the process for all 4 doors. With the doors done, we move on to the trunk, starting with the same cleaning process. Measure and cut. I applied the adhesive in a similar way here, as you can see, but I started out by only sticking the adhesive along the top ridge of the trunk brace, then I worked down the sides of the braces. I used a razor blade to make relief cuts wherever 2 braces join together. This ensures the best possible adhesion and minimizes any openings on the sides of the tape where dirt can get in on rally stages and cause the adhesive to separate and fail over time. Once all of the reflective tape was applied, I went through with a heat gun and gloves to flatten and smooth any bubbles, wrinkles, or ripples that were missed to reduce the risk of introducing any dirt underneath the reflective tape. As a final barrier of protection from rally dirt getting behind our reflective tape, we placed a border of electrical tape around the door card reflectors. This should give us an easily replaceable method to hopefully keep dirt from ever even getting to the edge of our reflective tape. We just finished up applying the reflective tape, so the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and adjust those scrapers. In the Ojibwe prep video, you saw me going through and resizing these scrapers that are inside of the wheels. And those, as I mentioned, are to scrape off any debris that's inside of the wheel before it gets clogged into the brake rotors. So what we're gonna do now is, those work great in the Ojibwe race for the few sessions that we did get, but as they go through, they burn off some of that hard plastic. So we're gonna shift those down a little bit towards the wheel so that we can use more of that again. And eventually we're gonna have to make a template so we can continue to make more of those scrapers as they wear out. So you can see here, we've got the reflective tape on the doors, and this is so if they get stuck on stage and open up the door, you'll see a reflective marker that lets you know they are stopped. So we got those on driver and passenger front and rear doors, as well as in the trunk. So if anything opens up, that'll show that the vehicle is stopped and a hazard. So now we're gonna go ahead, lift up the car, take off the wheels, and start working on the scrapers. Another thing we ended up doing today that I didn't record because space was really tight and we were just trying to get in there and get it done, is this piece right here had actually hit a rock, pressed up the floorboard to where there was a gap around this brace. So we had to go in on the inside, press down the sheet metal, get all that brought back down to where it was supposed to be, straighten out this bar, and get a new washer. It ended up ripping the nut through the floorboard when it pounded up. So we had to take another washer that was a little bit bigger to capture that on both of these and get these reattached after flattening the bar. So we got that taken care of, and now what we're going to be looking at is on the diff cover here, we had to cut an access point in case we ever need to have to change that out. They're about to bring that in here, and we're going to insert that here to get that mounted up. Obviously, we still have to get the transmission put back together. Right now, Ryan is waiting on some seals so that we can put the transmission back together and not have any leaks, because we didn't want to reuse the same seals. We went through, like I mentioned, and we brought the scrapers back out so that they could be in contact with the wheels or close to it. And this will probably be the last race for that. And we're about to finish up for the day. The team was able to find an alternate method to get stitch delivered to STPR directly from the Raleigh area, so we were able to get one more weekend to work on the Rally car before it departed. We decided to take advantage of that time to do some upgrade work on the brakes. RalyGrl had purchased a set of upgraded pads and rotors that would be arriving before STPR, so we prepped all four corners for the new pads so we could just swap them out and do a quick bleed once they arrived. We also found that one of the rear calipers could use new seals, so we removed both rear calipers for a rebuild. I got lots of good footage from the caliper rebuild process, but instead of putting that all in here, I'll post that footage as a separate how-to video for anyone interested in learning the steps to rebuild a caliper. After removing all four wheels, I removed the two bolts holding the caliper to the hub on each of the four corners to remove the calipers. Once the bolts were removed, I used a heavy-duty zip tie to attach the caliper to a solid piece on the body to avoid placing the weight or pressure on the brake lines. If you prefer, a metal coat hanger can be bent and used for the same purpose. However you choose to do it, the main goal is to keep the brake line from kinking or holding the weight of the caliper so you don't damage the brake line or the fitting. Once the calipers are off, the rotors should usually release and remove fairly easily. On this particular brake configuration, the rear wheels have a drum brake inside of the rotor for the parking brake, so it took a little bit of mechanical agitation to get the rotor to release. That's the polite way of saying I had to beat it a little bit. That said, take note that I'm using a rubber mallet with a heavy tap method and turning the rotor while I do this. You never want to use metal on metal when striking a rotor, and you want to work your way all the way around the rotor to break it loose. Otherwise, it'll just get wedged in place or damage the rotor. That pretty much covers what we did to get Stitch ready for STPR, which has come and gone. We did get the calipers rebuilt, but I'll be releasing a full episode on that process alone over the next few weeks. If you're looking for a caliper rebuild how-to, be sure to stay tuned. I'll probably release the 2019 LSPR prep video next week, as RalyGrl will be competing at LSPR starting September 18th. If you want to keep up with RalyGrl at LSPR, be sure to follow @RalyGrl on Instagram and download the ARA Racing app for live updates during the race. So until next time, stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day.